The leaked draft opinion by Justice Alito Tuesday continues to reverberate both in Washington and around the country. CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe sat down with Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. The Democrat highlighted who she believes could be hurt the most if Roe v. Wade is overturned.
Well-to-do women everywhere in this country, they'll be fine. They can afford to get on an airplane, they can fly to a place where abortion is illegal, either in another state or even out of the country. You know who this falls on? It falls on the poorest women. It falls on black women who are told once again what they can and cannot do with their bodies. It falls on little girls who have been molested by a family member. It falls on people who've been raped. It falls on women who already have children and are working 2 and 3 jobs to try to support the children they have. Those are the ones who don't have the resources, the opportunity to fly somewhere else. Those are the ones who get crushed.
And Ed O'Keefe joins me now. Ed, the politics surrounding abortion have been thrust back in the forefront for both Democrats and Republicans after the Supreme Court leak. How are the president and Democrats responding?
Yeah, it's interesting. Senator Warren reminded me, she said, look, if you think about it, Republicans have seen this as a big issue for decades as they've tried to push to get a conservative Supreme Court in place to do what it looks like they're on the verge of doing. For Democrats, she said, now they've got to go out and convince women, others who are concerned about this and how it could potentially end up affecting other rights to turn out and to put Republicans on record against something that a majority of Americans don't want to see changed, and that is that they want to keep Roe v. Wade and federal abortion rights intact as currently accepted by the Supreme Court. Here at the White House today, you saw the president speak more broadly about what the MAGA crowd, or the Make America Great Again crowd, and former President Trump has allowed to happen to American politics and to Republican policy, saying they're the ones responsible for the conservative majority that's now in place. They're the ones pushing extreme ideas, citing, for example, Senator Rick Scott of Florida, who at one point earlier this year put out an economic plan that would have raised taxes on some more modestly incomed Americans, not higher earners, not just higher earners, as Democrats would do. You saw the vice president last night use an address to Emily's List talk about the sharp contrast now between Democrats who oppose what the court's about to do and Republicans who've been pushing for it. Whether that's going to work and make abortion a top issue of concern for Democratic base voters and turn them out once early voting and the elections happen in the fall, we'll just have to wait and see.
And on the other side of the aisle, you talked with Governor Tate Reeves of Mississippi this afternoon. What did he tell you? Yes,
remember, it's Mississippi's 15-week ban, or ban after 15 weeks, that is what's forced the Supreme Court to write this draft opinion and will ultimately lead to them making a decision on the future of federal abortion rights. Reeves is head of a state, one of 26, that would completely or partially block abortion access once Roe is overturned, if Roe is overturned. So we talked today about that. He conceded it's now going to be a big part of his political legacy, but that he was elected by Mississippi's voters to make this kind of change. And he had a suggestion on what exactly, or he had a look ahead to what is now going to happen in his state if Roe is indeed overturned. Take a look.
Let's talk about what happens in America. And if Roe is overturned, that would return the decision-making process with respect to abortion rights to the elected representatives in all 50 states, and that each of those elected representatives can make the decisions that they view best for their constituents. That's the way it was in America for some 175 years before Roe was, in our opinion, wrongly decided in 1972. And so certainly that's what will occur. In Mississippi, we have a trigger law in place, and we will not only have a 15-week ban, which is what this case is about, but if Roe is overturned, that trigger law will come into effect, and we will ban abortions in Mississippi with the exceptions of rape and the life of the mother.
One of the other things the governor told me, Nicole, is that his state and others should now, if Roe goes, focus on more state funding for family services, adoption, foster care, early childhood education, things to help those babies that may be born by women who don't necessarily want them, didn't want the pregnancy to continue, but for whatever reason weren't able to get an abortion before the 15-week ban. It's going to be an interesting process to see states like his go through this now, realizing they have some real life or death issues to confront. One other thing that Senator Warren told me, I forgot to mention this, and we have it to play for people. Watch this as I asked her what she would say to the Supreme Court justices about to make this decision.
If you walked out of this building and happened to be headed towards the Supreme Court, or a Supreme Court justice is on his way over here, and it's one of the justices that is probably going to vote to overturn Roe, what would you say to them?
I'd say, how can you do that after what you said in your hearing? You know, we went over all this with most of these nominees, and all I heard from the nominees was settled law, we all know. And then first chance you get, it's not just a little scratch at Roe, it's not take a little dent out of it. It is all blow it up. It's insulting about Roe. It implies that the people who wrote Roe just didn't even know what they were talking about.
So, Nicole, I think that sums up the Democratic anger and the Republican resolve to tackle this issue going forward, both from a political and a policy sense. But clearly, a lot of work to be done here in Washington and in state capitals if Roe is indeed overturned.
Absolutely, which we'll both be covering. Ed O'Keefe, thank you.
Yes, we will.